Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my podcast where you can gain insight on my perspective. My name is Hayden, and this is episode 8 of a series called 24 Lessons I've Learned in My 24 Years of Life. Today's episode is titled Comparison is the Thief of Joy, which I'm sure this is not the first time many of you have heard this. I've spent most of my life comparing myself to others. That's something that we are taught at a very young age when we start comparing ourselves to our peers, our families, anybody around us. We're shown that people are always doing different things and that we're not at the same points in life that other people are at, or we may not have learned something yet, or we are not old enough to do what that person is doing yet. So yeah, it's something we're taught, and it's been something that I've been trying to unlearn over the last several years of my life, because comparing myself to everyone else around me has sucked the life out of me and stolen my joy. Things people compare themselves to within other people, for example, sports, tests, IQ levels, finances, food, materials, clothes, bodies. We're all comparing ourselves to one another, and it doesn't feel good. A lot of my peers, I felt, were able to answer this question better than I could, and it was, if you could be anyone when you grow up, who would you be? I would get upset because I could not come up with an answer. They're like, come on, it's easy. Who would you want to be? And my peers are rattling off celebrities and other people that they look up to. Those are people that they want to be. We weren't being taught that those people could inspire us, not that we have to be those people. And there was a disconnect there, because when they were trying to teach us this at the young age of, pretty sure I was in kindergarten when I first heard this, I wasn't being told, hey, you could be inspired. Like, what person inspires you right now? And sure, I was asked that question many a times down the road, but before that question of who inspires you, it's, if you could be anybody in this world when you grow up, who would you be? And I know that it had the positive intent behind it to get us to think about, what do these people do? But that was something I didn't comprehend. And so when kids in my class would answer that, I didn't really have an answer for that. And I tried to think of, who would I want to be? Why wouldn't I want to be myself? That's kind of weird. Am I not good enough that I have to be somebody else when I'm older and not myself? There must be something wrong with me then if I have to become somebody else when I get older and it's not myself. There wasn't a clear distinction, and although I know that there was probably positive intent behind teaching us this, it was not executed well enough for my little brain to comprehend at the time, which is also why I ended up comparing myself to other individuals in my classes who got sent to classes that were above me, AP, advanced, because their comprehension levels were higher than mine. So when you're telling a kid, oh yeah, you got into the advanced classes, advanced means good. And a lot of the times, advancement, you're above somebody. When this was going on, I felt these super intense feelings of inferiority. And I felt inferior to everyone around me. And then I also met peers who felt similarly. Yeah, all these people think that they're better than me. And especially when it came to sports. If you were more talented in sports, that meant you were better than other people on the team, and then you got ranked. There are feelings of being superior and inferior, which goes into my next topic. Inferior versus superior. This meant that there were people above one another and below one another. It contradicted what I was being taught, that all humans were equal, on the same plane. My first memories of learning about inferior versus superior was actually in school and in church. Even if I'm not subscribed to that specific practice, I will speak equally about all of them. Because to me, from my perspective, I see them on the same plane, and that there is no hierarchy. The hierarchy of religions and beliefs do not exist. I'm merely sharing an experience from my childhood based off the way I was raised. So this is a personal experience. Others might relate, and others might not relate, and might not see the same thing, and that is perfectly okay. So I want to preface that, because this topic can make people feel kind of uncomfortable or heated, and that's not my intent for this. I'm simply sharing an experience and what I was taught and what I learned from my perspective. What I was taught and what I learned could be two different things. And that's because there's a separation of perspectives and beliefs. And there's so much that goes into that. There's a lot of psychology and philosophy involved within that statement itself. So yes, my first memories of inferiority and superiority were from school and from church. That was the times that I was around the most people that I got to interact with. And there were multiple perspectives and beliefs and views. Just like I was saying, in school, you were superior if you played sports. You were inferior if you were really good at academics. If you weren't an athlete, you were seen as something below. The school I went to, if you were in band, you were seen as inferior to the athletes, which I think is how a lot of schools portrayed different academics and clubs in America specifically. See it as we are taught to enjoy competition and competing because that is involved in our daily lives, is learning how to compete with one another to reach the top, when that's one way of looking at life. And there are multiple other perspectives, but traditionally, that's a way we were taught. Yeah, there was a ranking of hierarchy in school, so that was the first feelings of, I'm superior to you, and you're inferior to me. There's a lot of psychology that goes into this, and I can't touch on all of it in this podcast, but even though we're being told that we are all peers, we are all equal, we're being ranked, and there's a hierarchy. Same with when I went to church. I was taught in church, Christianity as a whole is superior to any other religion or belief out there, and that a lot of other religions or beliefs went against God or contained witchcraft or didn't align with the Bible. And to some extent, that might be true based off the perspective that you look at it through. It was a little too narrow-minded for me to comprehend, because I was like, I don't know how they expected a child to feel safe and welcomed and seen as an equal when they literally challenged us in our classes to speak in tongues. If you could not speak in tongues, you did not get a piece of candy. They stood there holding candy before you and encouraged you to speak in tongues. If you did not speak in tongues, you would not get candy. That was a weird thing. I found myself asking for my number to be put up on the screen in the big service because I felt uncomfortable in class. And my parents were like, he's whining, he doesn't want to be in class with his peers. I was like, I feel like I do not want to be here. And then there was a point where I made the conscious decision to attempt to learn more about Christianity. And that's where I found a lot of my friends, was at my church. They saw through what was being taught to us. And they were like, I also know that they are treating people differently, even though they say that we are all equal. And they are promoting this hierarchy. And they are putting down others, but saying that they forgive them for not following Christianity. And they're still in this superiority complex mindset that felt very toxic to be in. I haven't had a good relationship with religion, and I unsubscribed from it when I was 18 to discover every other belief out there, including Christianity. I still learned it, but I didn't practice it. And I learned that it did not align with the trajectory of where my life was going. So even though they were teaching us that everybody is on the same plane, everybody's equal, they talked down on every other religion and belief and philosophy. And anything that did not align with Christianity, it was either you were Christian and that was the only way to be, because that's traditionally how everybody was taught, and any other belief that questioned that was to be seen as less than. And it wasn't even in comparison to Christianity, because Christianity is up here and every other religion and belief and philosophy is down here. So as I grew up and I heard more people tell their stories about what they believed in and what they were taught in other countries and how they practice their religions and beliefs, and they talk about the God that they're worshiping, it aligns all on the same plane. And even in other religions, they are seen as this, there is a hierarchy, superiority versus inferiority complex within it, but not all of them are like that, and not every single person within that category believes that. That's why I meet a lot of people nowadays that are like, I will never attempt to force or make you believe in what I believe, because this is just what works for me. This is what rings true to me. And we're all just figuring life out together. And we can bounce stuff off one another, maybe inspire other people. But by no means am I going to make you believe in something that doesn't ring true to you. So the more people I met like that, I was like, wow, the world isn't so narrow-minded like I thought. And I had the feeling that, yes, we are all seen as equal, and that is a true thing, and not seen through one direct lens. It was just like everything I had ever learned growing up was then contradicted by all these other beliefs, which it was so cool to discover that, because I was like, I no longer feel inferior. I see everybody as equal now. Truly, how we're being taught not to judge others and love thy neighbor like thyself. I began doing that and seeing that, and I'm like, okay, everybody's on the same plane. So what I was taught as a kid does not ring true, and it's not even applicable to my life. There is no hierarchy. There's not. That's what I believe. Mind you, this is all based off, you're gaining insight on my perspective through my lens. And I'm not saying you have to believe the same way I do, but I'm letting you know that this is what I experienced and what got me to the thought processes that I have now. Yes, going to school and going to church, that is where I saw the most examples of being inferior or superior. When there's the only option of inferior versus superior, some people don't even question there being a middle ground, or we're taught that the middle doesn't exist. It's one side or the other. It's black and it's white. But you know gray exists. You know the scale of colors exists. So why are you only teaching us that the world is black and white and there is no middle ground? Why are we avoiding the middle ground? Why does there have to be comparison? Why can't we just believe and do the things that feels good to us, that rings true to us, and accept that other people are going to do the same and not judge one another for doing what they want to do in life? Why don't we uplift and support one another with our endeavors, and we grow alongside of each other without feeling the pressure from others or feeling the need to pressure other people? There is a middle ground, and it does exist, and that is where I have landed. I don't choose sides. I don't like it. It does not feel good in my heart, in my mind, in my body, in my soul. Choosing sides, I love to know a lot about a lot of things. And since there is so much information out there, there are so many books I have yet to read. There are so many different beliefs and practices that I want to learn about that pique my interest, and where there's no hierarchy. So yeah, I was taught that Christians were superior to any other belief and practice out there, which that never aligned with me growing up, and anytime that was expressed, it was dismissed. That is how I was dealt with personally when I went to Sunday school. I expressed from a very young age that I did not like going to church. I did not like going. I didn't see the point in it, and I understand that people have their places of worship. I just see everything on the same plane, and I'm not here to tell you what I believe in or what I practice or how I go about practicing. A lot of these conversations I have in private with other people, and I have with people who are able to respect somebody else's view and belief without getting into a heated debate, without feeling the need to pressure somebody about what they believe and why other people should believe in it. I'm not about that. And within the past year, I've stopped choosing sides, because I realize you are allowed to be in the middle ground. You're allowed to be there, and that doesn't mean you're indecisive. That does not mean maybe. It means you're able to see everything from this perspective, versus if you're over here on the right, you're like, okay, I'm only seeing things through this perspective, so everything on this side is dismissed and it does not align with what I believe in. So I'm going to dismiss it, or I'm going to fear it, which a lot of people do. Or you're on this side and you also do the same thing. But yeah, needless to say, when all of that was occurring and I was learning the separation, I did not feel joy. I felt confusion. I felt even more lost, even though they said the only way to be found is to find God and to put all your trust and love into Him and He will guide you, which to some extent I believe that I will be guided, but I was being told all these things that contradicted what they were saying, so it was hard to comprehend as a child. I did not feel the joy that other people were talking about until I got older and was able to express myself and express my interest in learning about other things that weren't directly put in front of me. I found my voice, and then I started following the things that aligned with me, that rang true to me. I've allowed that to guide my life, and I have become so much wiser. I've been able to articulate my feelings and emotions better. I have been more in tune and connected with myself and able to interact and socialize with people better. I feel so much lighter and happier and filled with joy. That's all from following what rings true to me and not what was taught to me. So I've spent so much time unlearning the comparisons and comparing myself to other people because it's feeding the ego, and that's something I don't want to do, is feed the ego all of this stuff that's going to make it feel so superior to everyone else. And it wasn't until I began unlearning all of the stuff I was taught that I started seeing how amazing it is that people have all these differences, that people have different IQ levels, that people have different interests in what they do, different careers and different levels in their careers that help them specifically grow within themselves. I'm so happy for other people that get to grow within themselves and that understand the power of their growth. It just makes me so happy to see that, because what I'm experiencing, I'm seeing in other people, which the people around you are a reflection of kind of who you are as a person. You can see different facets of yourself and other people around you. Psychologically speaking, you search for the things that you like in yourself in other people, and that's why you have friends that are similar to you. Like, I feel like a lot of you know what I'm talking about when I'm saying these, and some of you might be hearing this for the very first time. By no means am I here to create this superior complex, because by me sharing these experiences, I do not feel above anybody. I just feel this version of myself is above the one that I had yesterday, because I feel wiser and I feel more knowledgeable, and I'm just learning so much more every single day, and I'm growing. By no means am I trying to outgrow someone else. I don't want to be above or below anybody. I just want to be above myself and work on this vertical growth. It's me versus me. It's not me versus other people. I'm not competing with anybody else. I'm not comparing myself to other people. I can be inspired by other people. I could be put off by other people. It's what aligns with my soul. I take what resonates and I leave what does not. And I still battle with this. This is a work in progress. And like I said previously, a lot of these lessons I'm talking about are a work in progress. I still battle with them every day. But I catch myself now, and it's the part of becoming aware is the very first part, and then actually applying it is the second part. So when I find myself nitpicking my body and it's not where I want it to be, was that because I just watched a dude with a six-pack make a very cool edit on Instagram or something, and he's trying to inspire? Probably. That's probably why I feel like shit about my body, because I'm not where he's at. And I'm like, the goal is to not be where he's at. The goal is to be where I want to be, and understand that I am happy for where I am today, and I'm happy for the me yesterday and all the days before that got me to this point today. But yeah, when you stop comparing yourself to others, you're living in the present moment. You're not too far ahead in the future. You're not thinking about the past. And when you're in the present, you can see things for what they really are. You can see and hear clearly. You can let go and release the anxieties that are holding you back, and just accept that you are exactly where you are meant to be right in this moment. And when you do that, you can see your goals a little bit more clearly. You can see what needs to change in order for you to meet those. What actionable steps do you need to take? And if you already made them and you're still not reaching your goal and you're not getting closer to it, reevaluate and make a more realistic time frame for your actionable steps to reach that goal when you want to reach it. Everybody's path is separate, everybody's different, and when you realize that, you realize there's no need to compare yourselves to others. And like I said, this is a work in progress. This is something I'm still telling myself every day, but the first step is becoming aware, and the second is actually applying it to your life. If I find myself comparing myself in the moment, I recognize it, and I'm like, I don't need to be doing that because I'm right where I need to be. So long as I have my goals, I will reach them. I'm only in competition with the version of myself who I was yesterday. I'm in this vertical path of growth for myself. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. And that's the way I see life, through my lens. And that's what brings me joy. So when I adopted that mindset of I'm exactly right where I need to be, and I know that I can set up actionable steps to reach my goals in a realistic time frame, I feel joy. I don't feel the anxieties or the worries, or I don't feel inferior to anybody else. I feel balanced, I feel happy, I feel great. And it makes me emotional. I get emotional a lot. I'm an emotional guy. So these joys of life just make me so happy to talk about, and I like to share my perspective in case that might inspire somebody else. But by no means do I feel that other people have to think and believe the exact same way I do. I don't see people below me, and I do not see people above me. I see people who are on the same plane, figuring life out just like we are. And we go based off the people who have done it before us, and we can make changes to that. There are no rules about that. Do not treat yourself badly for not being where other people are that you want to be. There are some lessons that we have to possibly learn before we even get to that point. Just like my previous episode, I talked about how rejection is redirection. And if you're not where you need to be and you get rejected, you're being redirected towards where you're actually supposed to be. Maybe that's still in alliance with what you want to be, what you want to do, whether that's career, whether that's fitness, whether that's a talent, whether that's a hobby, etc. You can be where you want to be. Comparison is the thief of joy. So choose joy and don't compare. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of 24 Lessons I've Learned in My 24 Years of Life. Thank you guys for being patient and listening to my perspective on life and gaining insight through that. I would love to chat with a lot of you, and I do chat with people on a daily basis and learn about their perspectives of life. I learn about people who have lived life in other countries, and I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing about what other people believe in and how they view life. But knowing what I know now, I will never see it as what I believe is better than what they believe, because I know this to be true, so that means everybody else must. So yeah, that is life through my lens, and this has been episode 8, Comparison is the Thief of Joy. I will catch you guys in next week's episode. Have a great week.